Steve, thanks very much. And Long, good to see you again. Delighted to be here today. Hello to everybody. Good morning, good evening. Yeah, Eric, hey, good to see you. Congratulations, Long, really, on both the overall achievement in creating the Luohan Academy, as well as in producing this latest in a series of reports, and of really opening up the Ant Financial or OLLI data reserves to research, which I think is critical. So I really appreciate sort of the openness that you've shown here. So there are a couple things about the report that I particularly liked and particularly want to call out in terms of privacy. First of all, the report makes it clear that privacy is not really about data ownership, or at least that privacy is not well understood applying ownership principles. That really doesn't address what we're getting at when we have all the concerns that we share about privacy. Secondly, privacy is not only about control. Sometimes said, it's been said for years, that privacy is the right to control information about yourself. But that can be misleading, and particularly it can be misleading because it leads to too much of a focus on the consent-based model of approaching privacy. And as the report points out, as we all know, consent is too readily given, and noticing consent really ends up not getting to what I think, and what I'll explain, I think is sort of the core of the privacy problem. Unfortunately, policymakers and the laws that come forward, the GDPR, Patrick mentioned the GDPR as being all in on consent. We recently have adopted 2 successive major privacy laws here in California, which just put a lot of emphasis on notice and consent. And so, as the report points out, that really doesn't address the kinds of concerns and leads to potentially an image that you could somehow slow down the flow of data, and that could then have the adverse effects in terms of denying the benefits of data. Now, there is a new angle, which I'm going to discuss in a minute, which I think gets us more to the core of privacy, or at least of what I think big data and its use implicates. So the aspect of privacy that I think we need to focus on is privacy as fairness. That is, fairness in the use of information to make decisions about people. And the report quotes from Douglas North about the fundamental theoretical problem underlying cooperation, which is how individuals attain knowledge of each other's preferences and likely behavior. And I think that quote actually helps illustrate or explain even the privacy paradox. Consumers understand the preference, the value of preference, and consumers understand and accept the trade-off. I give you my location, you give me mapping services. I give you certain profiling information, you give me better ads. Consumers, that explains sort of, in my view, why consumers do share their information, because they share it in return for a service that's of immediate value to them, whether it's better search, whether it's location, or for that matter, a loan or other benefit. And of course, Ant Financial has been a leader in the micro and small and medium enterprise financing. Just huge breakthroughs there. But it's the likely behavior part where the fear, the distrust, and I really think it's fear that consumers fear the misuse of their data in ranking them, in judging them, in all the critical ways in which data is used. Employment, are you going to be a good employee? Credit, are you going to be able to repay this loan? Housing, do you deserve or are you qualified for this unit of housing? Insurance, are you a good insurance risk? All of the predictive uses of data, which are all very important and very powerful, and yet that's where the fear factor comes in, and that's where the distrust comes in. And some of it, of course, is quite well justified. Just looking only at the United States, obviously we have a long history and a continuing deep problem of racial bias in our society. And we see it in, for example, the Facebook use of big data to deliver advertisements related to housing, where it was shown, and the Department of Housing and Urban Development brought a complaint against Facebook, because even though the landlords didn't intend to discriminate, and even though the landlords were not breaking the law and weren't saying show our ads only to whites and not to blacks, the Facebook algorithm delivered the ads in a racially biased way using big data.
2 minutes, Jim.
Thanks, Steve. And this, to me, is the sort of future of privacy. And privacy is such a inadequate word for this. But at least in the United States, our Federal Trade Commission, I fully believe, is on the hunt for algorithmic bias cases. They've issued a set of guidelines. They held a roundtable. Those are two precursors in their way of operating to bringing real cases. The Department of Financial Services in New York State has issued guidance on use of big data in insurance rating, which of course has been around for a long time, but they, I think, are looking carefully at this. There's a growing amount of litigation in the United States in the public benefits sphere, disability, welfare, other decision-making, which is increasingly being based on the decision-making systems that are driven by big data. So to me, this is the next phase and should be the next phase. And long, perhaps, the Luohan Academy can take this on as the next phase of some of its work, looking at how to achieve and demonstrate two different things, of course, how to achieve fairness and how to demonstrate fairness at scale in the use of information. The traditional privacy frameworks have focused on redress, challenge, accuracy of data, et cetera. But I think there needs to be, and it is some work ongoing already, it needs to be a lot more work in terms of debiasing, in terms of identifying bias in systems before they are deployed. So to me, where we need to me, the value proposition of data is proven. The value debate, in my mind, should be over with. And the focus instead should shift to these questions of achieving and demonstrating fairness. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Long.